race for president is the race for president is over. For the first time in history, a black man, Mays Gilliam, will be the next president of the United States of America.
Beginning with the candidate, we've generally picked movies that have reflected America's rightward shift over the last 50 years. These films, Bob Roberts, Wag the Dog, Bulworth, and Election, have all been satires, black comedies that dealt with the political situation, mainly during the Clinton era. It's nice to end this month on a much more lighthearted note. Tonight we are talking about Chris Rock's 2003 Head of State, about an alderman called Mays Gilliam, who surprisingly becomes America's first black president. In some ways, this is the movie that most harkens back to something like Frank Capra's Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, although for a much more cynical generation. After the Democratic presidential candidate and vice presidential candidate die in a plane crash, the diabolical Senator, Bill Arno, wants to find someone to lose the 2004 presidential election to Vice President Brian Lewis.
The minorities will be happy and they will vote for us in 2008 because we've shown we support them. And the white people will vote for us because our guy isn't black. You got my vote.
Arno plans to run in 2008. Ironically, the year we'd actually end up choosing a black president, but is looking to capture minority votes and a clear future path for himself in 2004 as a kingmaker. Where I think this movie has a Capra-esque flair is that Mays Gilliam begins telling people simple truths and connecting with them, and that steadily earns him support. People are tired of the same old bullshit and negativity, as embodied by the Republican Vice President, Brian Lewis, and are fired up when Mays Gilliam talks to them about bread and butter economic issues. Like being broke, even after working 2 jobs, working paycheck to paycheck, the failing education system, and rising crime rate.
But there's nothing wrong with being an amateur. The people that started the Underground Railroad were amateur. Martin Luther King was an amateur.
This is embodied in Mays Gilliam's chosen slogan, "That ain't right."
Now, if your child's school has old-ass books and brand-new metal detectors, let me hear you say, that ain't right. That ain't right. It ain't right. And now we got these corporations stealing all the money. They stealing their money, they stealing our money. The pension.
Of course, this movie is very much a product of the Bush administration and the war on terror.
Of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine.
One pretty amazing bit is that when Mays Gilliam decides to go negative, his ads have clearly dubbed over Osama bin Laden endorsing Brian Lewis.
Yo, what's up? I'm Osama bin Laden. I hate America, but I love Brian Lewis.
Paid for by Osama bin Laden.
It was at this time in American history that both mainstream white culture and comedy itself began to go off the rails. The 9/11 terror attack and onslaught of rampant over-patriotic messaging in the lead-up to the war in Iraq seeped deeply into American culture. Shows like 24 pumped out pure Islamophobia, and even white comedians, embodied here by annoying puppet guy Jeff Dunham, dealt with the collective psychiatric damage from the first attack on American soil since Pearl Harbor through flag-waving jingoism.
That's affirmative. Start with the oldest son, Assad. If that's not successful, move on to his youngest son. We are a go.
However, this definitely opened up space for black comedy to flourish during the Bush administration. Whether it's Chris Rock's ability to make a movie like this, or Chappelle's show doing the Black Bush sketch, black culture, after undergoing so much trauma throughout the 20th century, often seemed far more grounded in the early 2000s.
The nigga bought aluminum tubes. Do I need to tell you what the you can do with an aluminum tube? Aluminum! They don't scare you? Fine. I don't even want to say this. The mother bought some yellow cake, okay, in Africa. He went to Africa and he bought yellow cake.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure, bitch.
Head of State is one of a handful of movies to be blessed with the talent of Bernie Mac before his untimely death in 2008. Bernie Mac plays Mitch Gilliam, May's older brother and vice presidential candidate. As is fitting, Bernie Mac gets some of the funniest lines in the movie, including a pretty great back and forth on NATO.
What about NATO? How do you feel about NATO?
I
Should
never
it be
met
disbanded?
NATO. I never met NATO. I don't know nothing about it. I don't talk about people behind their back.
NATO is the North Atlantic Treaty
Oh, but
Organization.
you didn't say that. I thought you talking about the guy. I know this guy named NATO Jacobs.
But you have to know these things if you're running for public
Do you know
office.
NATO Jacobs?
Tracy Morgan also appears throughout the movie as a dancing meat salesman.
More beef than East Coast, West Coast rap. Check it out. Hey, Superman! Saving lives and stuff. Why don't you cop one of these pork chops?
Of course, the premise at the heart of the movie is about the first black president, and that's captured in a pretty heartfelt speech that Chris Rock gives right before the election.
You just represent yourself. Me? I represent my whole race. Yeah, if I quit, there won't be another black candidate for 50 years.
Chris Rock has said that the inspiration for Head of State came from Walter Mondale's choice of Geraldine Ferraro as vice president. Knowing he'd likely lose to Reagan no matter what, Mondale chose to nominate a woman. In 2008, just 5 years later, America would elect its first black president. Of course, he wasn't assassinated, and there wasn't some great upset, which makes Head of State an interesting visionary artifact of its time.
But I tell you what, you won't see me moving to no African jungle anytime soon. Or some goddamn desert somewhere sitting on a carpet with a bunch of Arabs. No, sir. And you won't see me stop eating no ribs either. Gotta have them ribs. And pussy too. Don't Malcolm talk about no pussy? Now you know that ain't gonna work.
That's what you call it. Anyway, before I introduce the panel, let me say, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Also, we are now monetized, so if you have any pressing questions during this live show, send us a super chat. We are absolutely obligated by international law, human rights law, to answer it. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. All of our after parties are available on there forever. Okay, let me introduce the panel. Jay Underworld, illustrator, book cover artist, comic designer, and artist for Give Them an Argument, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza and Bad Take. Conan Neutron, host of Protonic Reversal and the frontman for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends is done touring until December 30th, but you can find all their music at neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Christina Oakes. When she's not dog sitting, you can find her streaming on Twitch at twitch.tv/cosmopolitics. You can find her on Twitter and Instagram at @cosmopolitics and on Patreon. Throw her some subs on Twitch and join that Patreon. Jonathan Brown, drummer for Action Chief, Threadmaker, often plays the drums with Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, and former drummer for Tyranny is Tyranny. I, of course, am your long-suffering host, Forrest Miller. Without further ado, let's get started.
So much suffering. Oh, so much suffering. Indeed.
I mean, it's not ironic this week because I'm literally suffering.
Yeah, you actually are not having a good time this week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I wasn't going to call attention to it.
Not because of the movie, but since you did bring it up, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm 1 second, I'm turning on my microphone. But I'm living with that Lyme disease.
Yeah, that's when they say twist the line. That wasn't what you were thinking about. That's not the kind of twist.
You know, did you guys know that Lyme disease is a U.S. government conspiracy? You can go on a whole deep dive. There's a whole theory.
Let's not do that.
Lyme disease is
I'm going to pretend we did, and we're just going to move on.
Let's just skip that. JB, thanks for coming back on. I think you're on mute, by the way. If you wanna say anything, it's been a while.
Just
Broadcast news, right?
Aaron's curse word went out. Because I do it all the time. Curse for no reason.
Yeah.
You know,
that was your metric.
So
Yeah,
it's the season. Allow me to rise to the occasion tonight.
'Tis the goddamn season.
I'm really glad that we picked kind of more of an uplifting one to end this month on, because it has been kind of like a cavalcade of like bummer and fuckery. There you go. See,
this is honestly the most Capra-esque, I think, of the movies that we've watched, right? Like, it's one man versus like an unfair system, speaking truth to power, literally like on TV, speaking truth to power in a way that's not like kind of an ironic dig, like something like Bullworth or like Network. Like, this time it kind of works and everybody rallies to his cause. there's also a lot of white flight in that one scene.
Oh, that scene is incredible. Like that scene makes me like lose my mind every time I mean, and it's got what is it? It's Bombs Over Baghdad, right? That's playing, and then like you just see everybody in the suburbs just like running out to the pole. I mean, it's because it's like we all know it, but then like to see it like played like for comedy,
played in reverse. Played in reverse because like the real version of that obviously is for 8 years later with fucking Trump, and the.
But I think that
you
overall,
those people running for 8 years and then they finally get there and they're like, "Make America great again. Let's pull that lever."
It is amazing. This is pre-Obama, right? I mean, and like, and again, I think most of the ones that we ended with were all kind of Clinton poisoned. One of the lesser plot elements and one of the wasted characters is sort of the blonde woman who's like, oh yeah, that's your like designated, I forget what they have a liaison or something along those lines. Yeah, well, that's what they eventually. But the joke is they have a more official designation first, right? And of course, that's zipper problems.
Apparently, on the set, they would just address her by saying, "Yo, super whore, get in here."
Fantastic. So
I have a clip where she talks about that she actually didn't mind it.
I'm not. That really has. There's a bunch of things that haven't aged very well. That hasn't aged very well, but that's like again.
There's a lot in this movie that
it's a lot that's an artifact of its time. Is the best way to put it. Yeah,
yeah.
I think it is deeply
use of Nelly. The use of Nelly has not aged
so much. Nelly. So much Nelly, yeah.
And we're gonna have a little bit of fucking Nelly vibes, I think, because like there's a lot of Nelly-esque background music, I think, in the the promo stuff they did for it, and I kind of
there's also Nate Dogg as like the Greek chorus / narrator, which I think is fantastic because not only does the theme song, but he kind of like elucidates certain plot points as it goes along, and I was like, that's great. I mean, Jonathan Richman did that for just like what?
Curtis Mayfield for Superfly.
Oh yeah. I literally didn't hear what you said. Sorry. And then something about Mary with the Jonathan Richman.
Basically being Nate Dogg and narrating it through song.
Nice.
I'm basically being Nate Dogg and narrating.
I mean, where's the lie, right? I think this movie is deeply entertaining.
Mount up.
I wouldn't say that this is like the best election movie, but I will never turn this movie off. I'll always like watch it through if it's on cable or something.
It shows that Chris Rock can do more than just straight up like comedy. Like there's some heart to this film.
There really is. I mean, like I think the note of it being kind of Capra-esque is kind of right on it, because. Well, and he talked about, and you might have a clip for this or something, but he talked about like, well, when he was going to end it, like it wasn't a sure thing that he was going to have Mace win, and then he was like, "Come on, we got to do it. Come on,
you got it." Well, I mean, listen, because 2008 was obviously a huge deal, but like in 2003, like you got to have the W, you got to have the win. You know what I mean? Like things are not going well, both for the Black community in general. Like that's the same year fucking Hurricane Katrina hit. But also just for everybody.
The Democratic Party. There was a bunch of freaking cowards that were like in power, and that's one of the reasons why Howard Dean came to be so popular.
Yeah.
It was his. It was back in the day, right? That was crazy. That was craziness.
That can end your campaign, guys.
I'd love to see a primary between Mace Gilliam and fucking John Kerry. John Kerry, he's like, I have 3 purple hearts, and he's like, that ain't right.
I got one heart, and I don't know what color it is because it's in my chest.
So where I was going with that was
the Swift vote veterans, but it's Mace Gilliam.
Where I was going with that is that like it's like Dean's like I'm tired of being told what to do by fundamentalist preachers. that is messed up. Flavor.
Yeah, that's sad.
Chiming in. But like Dean's whole thing, he came to fruition because like he had a prepared speech. Howard Dean, and he kind of dropped it in favor. Just like I don't want to listen to fundamentalist preachers anymore. I don't want to do this. And everyone's like, yeah. And it's so similar to the "that ain't right" bit, which is honestly like, where's the difference between like that and like Bernie Sanders or something for most of the stuff he's talking about? Maybe not the childcare stuff, but but like, where's the difference?
Or the crime stuff, but I mean,
Yeah, again, product of the times. This is like 2002, 2003.
You got to throw some comedy in there somewhere.
Yeah. Also, it's a vehicle for him to do his stand-up too. Let's be clear, and that's and like it's eloquently weaved in, but I was thinking about today.
It was so prescient though, predicting the smears that would be used against Obama when he walks up to the guy. He daps him up, and he's just like, he's like, "What's up?" And he's like, "There's just some guy I say hi to sometimes." And they're like, "Oh, that's a drug lord. Like he's involved with drug lord." Like that is such an on point thing for every person that Obama ever associated with that like they could possibly hit him with during the 2008 campaign. They were like, "This is a guy that Barack Obama knew well," and it's like, I've met him once. Like this is just some guy I know. Like it's not.
This is just a dude. Like I literally just see him around the way. Well, and it is very prescient, but it's also like could have seen it coming. Like you knew that they were going to do it, right? You knew that they were going to like employ those kinds of tactics. And I also like I think the conceit of it being like, let's set someone up to lose for this election. So embodies the spirit of the Democratic Party at that time, which is very much like, oh, it's so-and-so's turn. It's so-and-so's turn, like whatever. Like, and the idea that like it wouldn't be something like that was just like unthinkable. But I love the idea of it being like, oh, but actually he does well. They thought they were picking a chump. They thought they were picking a patsy, but it's someone that actually like connects. And and I also thought about, and I don't want to dominate the conversation, but follow your bliss, and I do it well. Like when he drives
in a van telling you to follow your bliss. What could possibly go wrong?
You got candy in there too.
That is the dumbest joke. I'm gonna call you out on that. Everybody's going, oh, you got candy in there. Never heard that one before. Jesus.
That's not where I was going with mine.
I'm just amazed that he's sitting in the Supernat right now.
I am sitting in the Supernat right now. Yeah, I'm about where you normally would be, actually. Yeah. If in a Starbucks parking lot in an undisclosed location. Yeah. So although people can now try to research which Starbucks, geolocation.
With that Jackie, you look like when Kermit the Frog was on Sesame Street and would do the reporter bit where he would just be
Kermit the Frog here. I was just gonna go.
Best anchor ever. All right, keep going.
Yeah. I was gonna do a zoom and enhance joke, but the moment passed. But can you imagine? Like, so there's sort of like Chekhov's bus at the beginning of this. Like as alderman, he makes the promise to the guy, like, look, man, they won't take away the bus. I'll drive you there if I need to. Yeah. Like, so it's Chekhov's bus, right? Because it's introduced early on, it must appear later. Yeah. And of course they do. They shove the bus line down. And who cares if they can't? If that dude can't get to work or a bunch of people can't get to work. And then he's like, on election day, he's like, I can't go meet with the Teamsters. Got a thing. And he drives not just them, but everyone. Then they have a whole party.
And they're raising the
party
roof.
on the bus scene. Yeah. Which what again, it's got to be played a little bit for comedy. But can you imagine if an actual candidate did that, like on election day? That would be a huge deal. Yeah. Right. And then
it's also there's a dichotomy between like, starting this with the candidate, which Bill McKay would have 100% promised to take the guy in the bus and then not done it on election day.
Totally not done it. Yeah. But exactly. Yeah.
He backs off on his bus driving policy. He's like, look, I'm not in favor of busing. I'm not in favor of,
But I just there are little moments like that it's like it's pressure in the way that like the darkest like celebrity obsessed and just lack of nuance sort of thing and completely cynical political aspirations and stuff are in there. Like the fact that Republican candidates always like, I'm Sharon Stone's cousin. This can't happen to me. Yeah. And then Sharon Stone endorses Mays Gilliam. Yeah. That's great.
This is Chris Rock talking a little bit about it, and then Bernie Mac talking a little bit about it. But this is about the idea that he had. I think this is the clip where he's talking about Geraldine Ferraro.
Security. Give it to old people.
You the man.
You the woman. It was about the little man running for president. The lowest guy you could imagine. What now?
Grow up. You gotta dress better. Even Puff Daddy wears a suit to court.
Getting a shot for the biggest title in the world. I asked my niece the other day, what's 4 plus 4? She said 44. Let me hear you say, that ain't right. Bernie Mac plays my brother, Mitch, just like me. He tells the truth. It's that idea I had a long time ago. I got the idea from Geraldine Ferraro, actually. So I thought that was like a setup. Democrats knew they were going to lose. They're running against Ronald Reagan. So what better time to have a woman on the ticket? After Dukakis loses, you have Clinton running against Bush, and he kills him. You know why? Because he carried the women.
Really just trying to take advantage of what his comedy is. You know, he's not politically correct. He is irreverent. So why not craft a role that's suited for him to go out and do that thing and be successful at it?
You about what?
Stand in.
You don't look nothing like me. Nothing. Don't even sound like me. Nothing. Look at his hair. Look at mine. Mine real.
Bernie, this is like one of these rare instances where he's had a ton of parts where he's come in and he's been incredibly funny and he's done some really, really good work. But this is an instance where somebody is actually behind the scenes writing a role for you.
Are these your bags, sir? Look at my shoes and look at the bag. Shut up and follow me.
There was no other guy we ever wanted to do that role other than Bernie Mac.
We got a lot of work to do, man. We're way behind in the polls.
Am I getting paid for this?
I went and I read the script, and Ali told me that he wrote this for me, and I read it. I started laughing. I said, it's my brother.
Well, now, my agenda.
I'll tell you what our agenda is.
Our agenda is to have a debate right now.
You need to get rid of this zero and talk to the
I
hero.
saw the characters. I saw the characters when they came to life. I saw the president, vice president. I saw Lewis. I pictured him.
And we feel that what this community needs is
What the community needs is for you to debate me right now.
You want to tell the people something? Tell them that.
I thought I told you that we won't stop. I thought I told you that we won't stop.
It's some stupid shit. This dude. It's funny though. But it's stupid.
This is the first time we ever worked together. He did my show a while back. So he was a guest, but we've never worked together. It's a dream come true. It was great. Me and Bernie had a great time. We're from the old school, we love old school comedy.
No! Yeah, I'm sick of that.
Oh, my God. Little brother.
They're always beating on each other too, like constantly. That's
the real life version of it. I don't think fucking Chris Rock would have got one shot in on fucking Bernie Mac, but he gets.
I don't know. Have you
nice
seen Chris Rock's abs? Like,
but he has to go up quite a bit.
I haven't.
Yeah. No. Right before he did that season on Fargo, which is fantastic, by the way.
That's good.
The
prequel season. Right?
He did a photo shoot where he's like lifting up his shirt and like we're talking like Elliot Page abs. I'm just like, dang, how old? He's like, because he was like what 50 something at this point.
Yeah. So you're saying is the reason that he didn't slap Will Smith back is because he would have done too much damage.
Yeah, with those abs. Yeah. Because a good slap comes from the abs.
Andy World, everybody.
Yo, because we're talking about this, I found this Oprah clip. I mean, I played it before the show, but I'll play it now. I found this Oprah clip that I think is great.
Well, hold on, but before doing that, can we just say like R.I.P. Bernie Mac, man? I mean, like,
yeah.
Well, you'll say that after this too. There's another Bernie Mac.
Oh, there's another Bernie. Okay, all right.
You get the final question, sir, right there. Yeah.
Back to the movie for Chris and Bernie. My thing was I really enjoyed the fight scenes. Did any of those punches land though?
No, I might have hit Bernie like once, I think. And he, I was like, oh my God, I hit you. He's like, you can't hurt me.
No, I didn't.
No, I know how to throw my punches. And just, the last thing you want to do is hit Chris. I wish somebody would hit Chris. Why in the hell you want to hit Chris? That ain't right.
Man.
Talk about
I love that
turtleneck.
He had a crazy fucking fashion style, and like both in movies and in like Bad Santa, his fucking style was insane.
Yeah.
A turtleneck.
Dressing like Jim Carrey from The Mask.
Double as a neck brace.
I remember him from like the second Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, like when he replaced Bill Murray because Bill Murray didn't get along with Lucy Liu or whatever the excuse was, and he was hilarious. He was hilarious in that. Oh, he was hilarious in everything that he did.
Yeah, everything he's in. He's good.
Yeah, no, he brings like anything that he's in. If I'm just like watching something and he's on it, I'll definitely fucking watch.
Yeah, when people call me a Bernie bro, that's the Bernie I'm.
That's the Bernie they mean.
That's the OG.
I think I think that Bad Santa was the first thing I really saw him in. It's like because I didn't have like cable growing up, so I didn't see like the Bernie Mac show or anything.
Yeah, I think the first thing I saw him in, I think was, and it was a very small part. Well, he was in Life. He was in that movie, and then he was in but he was on Get on the Bus. If you ever saw that Spike Lee movie about.
Actually, I haven't seen that one.
You ever seen it before, Conan?
No.
Really?
I haven't seen every Spike Lee movie. I've seen most.
It's actually one of his better movies, I think, and probably one of his least known. It came out in I want to say 2000, maybe 2002, 2001. It was about traveling from LA to the Million Man March.
Oh, nice
ensemble cast. But Bernie Mac's in that movie only has a few lines, but actually Wendell Pierce is in that movie for about 5 minutes, but it is 5 of the funniest minutes ever. Yeah,
I think he was just in. We talked about Bulworth, and he was Wendell Pierce.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And my personal favorite Wendell Pierce movie is Hackers for some reason. Don't ask why. It just is.
Don't worry, we won't. I think the movie, which is already great, steps up so considerably when Bernie Mac comes in. Like it's just like he just takes the whole thing like up. Like,
oh
a
god,
notch or
yeah.
two,
Yeah.
And it's
that NATO fucking back and forth cracks me up every time I think.
Well,
about it.
So you that's your. This is the thing I wanted to say is that like how I was going to phrase it is if Gary Johnson and Jill Stein had answered the anchor person's questions as eloquently as Bernie Mac did, then what would have been a lot wetter for them. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like the back and forth, especially with the older anchor, was very akin to Muhammad Ali and Howard.
Yeah.
Like how
yes.
Would be almost like to the point where they had it so down that they almost knew what to say to each other to get each other talking. Oh, right. Yeah, Bernie was in Friday.
And Mo Money I saw Friday.
What is my shepherd? And he know what I want.
And don't be a menace.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's right. Well, but I think that so it's interesting to me that like this movie still manages to be somewhat poignant. And sort of, like in almost as Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, like we talked about. But then that's true. People just be like, oh, he just does that. Fetterman would have just done the Dean Scream and still beat us. But
last week he couldn't even scream. He's really like he's really actually stepped up this week with his stroke recovery.
But there's no I don't know no Aleppo. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That would have been like talking about Aleppo. Do you remember the one down the way?
Do you remember the one where?
Hold on. Let me just please. I think the way it elevates is that there's a lot of jokes in here, but most of them land, even if some of them haven't aged well. That's all I wanted to say before we got off to something else entirely immediately.
No, I was saying, with the Gary Johnson thing, do you remember when somebody asked him about smoking weed and like damaging his fucking heart or something, and he like pretended to like die and fell off the chair?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, yeah. Everyone forgot about that because everyone just. Aleppo, ha ha ha. Even though like almost nobody laughing probably knew what Aleppo was either. But and Jill Stein shit the bed differently. Aleppo's fantastic.
Oh, Conan,
great city, Aleppo.
Oh shit! Oh wait, hold on. Let's put the focus on that. Christina rocking the Dark Passenger shirt, available this Bandcamp Friday.
Sick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Wait, is Friday Bandcamp Friday?
It is.
Yeah, it's the first Friday of every month, which is this Friday,
Okay.
which we're streaming.
Oh my
We're
God, it's
streaming that
December.
on
Okay,
Friday.
Okay, great. Okay.
So we're gonna
That's gonna help with the
we'll
plugs.
plug the Bandcamp Friday thing on, in show promo as we talk about a movie where dogs teach people how to rape women and hunt them down.
It's a boy and his dog on Friday, JB. That's what that is.
Oh.
We're starting out the apocalypse movies. We're not watching torture porn. Well,
I mean, it might as well
It's
be,
Faces
but-
of Death. What is it? Faces of Evil. Faces of Death, Part 3.
right. Okay.
Whatever.
It's enough. It's enough. Yeah. So like, it hits all the beats of like, of course, he sees the girl, he meets the girl, gets the girl, etc., etc. But then I also like that Robin Givens, who totally ditches on him and doesn't want to give him the time of day because doesn't think he has any future. And then like the repeated thing of just her like trying to like pick up where they left off, and then security.
You can
that
you can
was
tell
good.
how
Physical
gifted of
comedy.
you can tell how gifted of a comedy writer Chris Rock is, because they don't overutilize that bit. Like they have her, like the closest they really come is when she comes out of the marching band wearing the which is fucking hilarious.
Which is
But, like,
amazing. Yeah.
Like they could have hit that bit more times and then kind of ran it dry. I'm really happy they didn't, and they kind of gave her like a weird arc.
It did, but I think it very much leaned into what people thought of her at the time, especially, and not
That's a
that
good point.
far from being married to Mike Tyson. And I thought it was brilliant. I thought I thought the way she played in the small amount of time, she was just over the top enough,
right,
for it to be comical. And shout out to Ollie Leroy too, who also helped write this
I'll
movie.
put him on stream.
As a part in a lot of movies that Chris Rock is a part of. Wrote Pootie Tang, which I didn't think was great, but it has some great lines in it.
The great lines to quality of movie ratio is pretty astounding for that one.
Yeah,
But there were some incredible lines. Yeah.
So, All right, Conan.
I gotta say too, like the
Yeah,
part
the-
where he goes going to punch.
One guy's going
Robin
out, the
Givens.
other guy's going in. I'm in the middle being like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
And today on the traffic report, from
Noted. What's going
Yeah,
on?
we interrupt this movie coverage with traffic at Starbucks.
All right. Come on, let's go. I could be driving right now.
But yeah, so I think it's
But
written.
here you are.
I think it's written really well. Wow, that Starbucks Wi-Fi goes far. I don't know. You're right. You're on the highway by now.
They got an extender.
Life
think
is
the,
a highway. I will ride it all night long.
Literally.
Yeah, so like the writing on this is really good. I think the bits are really good. The Osama one really cracked me up when they go negative, and first it's the KKK guy.
The
and then they
KKK
jump-
guy's great.
Yeah. But then they jump right to like, because you have to, like, I don't know, like in my head I wasn't necessarily processing until that moment that it's like 2003 when like they was at the height of the fucking Osama bin Laden panic and shit.
Yep.
And but then they have the fucking, they just like the black guy's voice. It's like, yo, I'm Osama bin Laden. And it's like
I hate America.
It just reminds me
But
of
I love
ads. It
What's
just
that,
reminds me
Christina?
of the negative ads that are going on right now with the Georgia Senate runoff race.
Yeah,
like
it's practically just an ad that they would run, right? I mean,
yeah. Like they got Raphael Warnock's ex-wife pulling the crocodile tears, like saying that a fender bender is the same thing as domestic abuse, and I'm like,
yeah,
girl, how much are they paying you to do this ad where you're like, he wouldn't stop?
Well, I'll say this, man. Raphael Warnock, like, think about who he's gone up against, right?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, Herschel Walker, man.
Yeah, vampires versus werewolves. He's like, did y'all
Oh
know
my
that a werewolf can kill a vampire? And I'm like,
And it's because he watched Fright Night.
I thought I was on stream. I thought I was on stream with Andy for a minute.
I was like, I thought I was seeing double.
I like that he shoehorns it in there, and he's like, I was watching Fright Night the other day, and it's like,
I was like, what?
All right,
This isn't your-
sure.
But the sad thing is, a lot of people out there are going to elect him because they prefer that black guy over the other black guy.
Yeah.
But
the
really,
deal.
in the end, most people probably don't prefer any of them, either of them.
Yeah.
You know, which you know, going back to the movie at hand.
Thank you.
Us back a little bit, because to use the one thing that I always appreciated about this movie, specifically the time that it was made in. You know, you had the Chappelle Show, and it was pushing a lot of envelopes with comedy that I'd heard my whole life. You know, but you know, keep it a buck, not a lot of probably not a lot of non-black people really been exposed to some of it. And again, some of it doesn't hold up very well, you know, today. But I think there's a lot of things in that movie that when I look back on it, you know, kind of like the race going, you know, and flipping back to the race between Warnock and Herschel Walker, is that there's so much within that I don't think the majority of people really understand the dynamic of it. And how Herschel Walker is, I almost feel in a small way sorry for the guy, because he's getting played like
he's getting exploited. Yeah, he's being
Oh,
mined
my
like
God,
like
I don't know how
iron
much
ore.
that gets seen.
No,
Same with this
it's-
movie, where you know, he's where Chris Rock is kind of being used, but obviously Chris Rock is not, you know, his character and him himself.
Comes
He's
out
better.
on top. In the
But
end.
yeah, but at the same time, there's so much through that movie that why I enjoy it is every time I watch it, I pick up a little bit more nuance, and that's the one thing I like about the writing. Some of it is hit you over the head, but a lot of the stuff, but there's a lot of jokes in that, a lot of jokes and commentary in that movie that are so nuanced. Like, for instance, a part that might have hit some people over the head, the part where she's a campaign manager. I'm trying to remember her name. I can't remember the actor's name. When they're on the bus, and it's right after Chris Rock gets recorded saying the thing.
Lynn Whitfield, right?
Yeah, Lynn Whitfield. Thank you.
Yeah.
And she calls Chris Rock the N-word. And, you know, it gets played kind of for a joke, you know, where he's like, I know you just didn't call me, you know, blah, 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 riding on my bus. And then, you know, kicks it. But it's funny.
He's just ignorant in there too. Like,
yeah. Which plays the class colorism, you know, a little bit. And I think that joke, that scene gets played just kind of for laughs, you know, a serious moment, but somewhat played for laughs. But there's a lot of that was kind of risky, definitely back then. You know, and I'm sure, you know, a lot of like
and
how
they
they
lead up to it. They lead up to that too, because like there's the one guy when she's at the hose and show business party that's like, hey, don't I know you from somewhere? And she just screams. She like screams at the guy, like kind of hinting that like to get to the top of the ladder in the political sense, like she's had to leave her identity as a, you know, as a black person behind, essentially.
And you know, obviously the fact that Chris takes control of his own campaign, stops wearing, you know, wears what he wants, where, you know, I mean, of course they take it over the top a bit, but I appreciate, you know, some of the nuance in the writing, you know, at times in the movie, and then again at times and
at times it's dumb as hell too. Yeah, but I said at times it's dumb as hell, but sometimes it's like, wow, that's a really
hold up. But
haven't seen that in a movie, you know.
I think the perfect intersection is the bit that's Dark Skin Magazine. At like their smear campaign is he's half white.
Yeah, well, because it shows, it shows all the magazines and like all of their like incensed reaction to him, and like that's but it's like it's a play off Ebony or something, but it's Dark Skin Magazine.
Yeah,
but I appreciate.
I mean, that
joke was for me. That joke was, and that's not a lot of thing you see in movies, and like, and at least especially at the time, because even if you had black characters in a movie, they usually the jokes are heavy, ham-fisted and obvious, and whereas there was a lot of nuance and a lot of stuff that was written in this movie that keep it a buck wasn't for white folks.
like the whenever he hired the Nation of Islam security guard.
I mean, now, but the thing is,
Muhammad.
What do we? 19 years later, now you do a lot of those jokes now make more sense, I'm sure, to a lot more people. And I know this movie is kind of I don't know if it's really necessarily a cult classic, but I know a lot of people I know have watched this movie, which surprises me, honestly, because at the time, it was kind of slept on, so there's
well, and I think that like in the I guess the aftermath of the Obama administration, when
look at the Tracy Jordan character, right?
Did we lose Conan again?
Yeah, I think so. But like that, like dissecting the racial politics of like the Obama era, like there really was the whole he's half white kind of smear used against him by some people in the African American community. Like he's not one of us. You know what I mean? Like we need to like someone who's one of us, who's fully black, which kind of mirrors the a lot of like white supremacist talking points, but is still kind of an in-group, out-group reaction
and
to.
It kind of reminded me of like the criticism from Obama from like, oh, he's like, he's, his father was this radical Islamic, type of individual, but then he's also been raised by his white Marxist grandparents. And I'm like, which one is it?
Yeah. Well, all the bad ones.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's
the scariest of the brown people, and it's the scariest of the white people.
I remember everyone saying that his mother was like a sex worker, and like I'm like, no, she wasn't. But if she were, why are we hating on that? Like it was just so many different criticisms about Obama to slam him, to make him out to be like this, like just thing that wasn't even like real. I was like, this is just.
Well, I mean, and they did it with Bill Ayers, which kind of is the same thing as like the Osama bin Laden thing, right? Like Bill Ayers was the guy from the Weather Underground, and it was like he was a domestic terrorist in the 70s, or at least considered that. Like, they were like blowing up buildings and shit, and they tried to, because he said I would vote for Obama, which of course he would. He was like a radical liberal, I guess I would say, in the 70s. Like, of course he's going to vote for the Democratic candidate, but they tried to use that as like, see, like he's getting endorsed by a terrorist, a white terrorist this time. We didn't even remember that those quite existed, but
yeah.
I know after Reverend Wright, I was like, I'm going to vote for Obama.
Yeah.
It's oh, man,
which funny, you look back at that even today, and you look at some of his Reverend Wright's some of his sermons, and you look at him and you're like, where's the lie in it? Where's the lie?
Where's the lie? Yeah.
I mean, and even at the time, and I will say at the time I saw it and I felt and I will say JB back in 2007, was even in a different place that JB in 2022 is. But even then, I mean, I was even like, what's he saying that others haven't? Well,
I mean, and that brings us to the Warnock and Herschel Walker thing again, which they've taken a lot of his old sermons where he's talking to a church about whether it's socialism or about how evil fucking Israeli apartheid is, or like on a whole host of subjects that like a black preacher would talk to their congregation about, and a white preacher wouldn't necessarily, because there's a political implication to being a black preacher within like the Southern Baptist Church specifically, and within Martin Luther King's old seat. Like I don't think you can really be like the heir to Martin Luther King's like pastorship and not weigh in on politics. Like, oh, I'm not a political preacher. I'm a different kind of guy.
Because Martin Luther King never waded in anything like that. which obviously, you know, I mean, it's I could go down a rabbit hole with that, but he wasn't in the movie. So, you know, if MLK was in the movie, you know, then, you know, I could, you know, speak to that a little bit more. Little trying to stay on topic joke there, but you know, that's all right.
Yeah, Steve, I wonder what happened in the last year and a half. Did something happen to all these voters?
In the last 5 minutes, actually. They've all passed away in the last 5 minutes.
So this is another I find these Oprah clips kind of fascinating. You know, they both went on Oprah to promote the movie, Bernie Mac and Chris Rock, and there's that first clip. There's another one where this is like their after party or whatever, pretty much like their after show thing where people ask questions, and I found this one kind of funny.
Full job.
That wasn't supposed to happen, was it?
Wait, I'm not sure why it's not.
Yeah. I'm like, I can't vamp. I don't have anything to vamp about.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that, I mean, it's kind of the same kind of populist energy as the actual movie, where it's like, you know, people actually needing to work for a living and working 2 jobs and not making ends meet. It's not something that Chris Rock would have had to deal with at this time, but like it does capture that spirit of you know, being so broke and like living to paycheck to paycheck so much that you you know, you're completely trapped in that lifestyle. And then of course with the rise of crime and the rise of fucking mass incarceration, like then you need the bail bondsman, and then that's when Bernie Mac comes in.
Yeah, they have such a good dynamic, the two of them. Like you can tell, like they had the chemistry to be brothers in this film.
I mean, they're both insanely talented comedians too. Like you could tell that they're playing off of each other the entire time when they're beating the shit out of each other. Or the fucking, you know, I was laughing my ass off at it, but like when they're chasing the fucking Brian Lewis around going, debate me right now, and then at every single time he's like, we ain't never gonna stop. Like that cracked me up specifically because, you know, after working on a show that actually every other fucking week was a debate, like it just like the level of like chiding, I guess, that went into the fucking debate on that. Yeah, and this kind of cracked me up. You can see Sam Cedar fucking chasing somebody around, you know, with Bernie Mac
around to debate him.
I think that this could. I was just gonna say this would give Sam Cedar some ideas.
No, but like, you know, I mean, they take it to a level that's so absurd that, you know, like first they're on TV behind him, and then he like turns on the TV and they're there fucking like, I think you need to debate me right now, and then he's standing outside his house with a fucking megaphone. Like it's just taken to such like an excessive level, like chasing him around the fucking golf course. Like that shit is funny.
Well, remember around that same time too, like the Yes Men were a big deal too, who are these dudes who like go through and like make these like weird confrontational like interactions on camera. And like, you know, Michael Moore had his TV show, as well as, you know, was still in the Roger and me era before he was just like political commentator Michael Moore. So it all like fits in very nicely. But what I like about those is that mostly still plays. You know, like when he's jogging and they like catch up to him and are like jogging next to him, like whatever.
Oh,
that's
you get
great.
time to jog? You get time to jog? Do you have time to baby?
Yeah. And like it happens a lot with candidates that feel, you know, that like they have the lead and it doesn't benefit them to do a debate, right? But you know, so it's like that's a very real thing. And most progressive candidates have to do that. You know, they have to like shame the other candidate and do the debate.
It well also too, it was like when with John Fetterman, a lot of people were actually worried that the debate hurt him against Dr. Oz. But the fact that the results came in, the debate ended up helping Fetterman even more because people more like related to him.
I just don't think people really care about debates. Like it's like debates are good.
I was about to say something very similar to that. Yeah. I think it just doesn't matter anymore, and like people already decided.
I mean, how many people have we seen that are either it's like like fucking Jimmy Carter or like Hillary Clinton like winning 3 debates in a row or something. Like even if you win 3 debates in a row, nobody can, like it's not like people are like, oh, the tides have turned on how we feel about your the aura you give out or your aesthetic or the job you're doing with as president, or because I mean in the case of Fetterman, he's already lieutenant governor. Like he has a record and people know that, and he shows up whenever there's a fucking natural disaster or whatever.
And he's an authentic dude, and like Hillary Clinton can like very skillfully win every single one of the debates, Tracy Flick style, and it's not going to make people that despise her, and which isn't just sexism. She's actually just a terrible person having nothing to do with her gender. And like it's so amazing to have it just be reduced to that, and and it's not surprising at all, but it is something where the idea of the debate as being the big thing that saves the orphanage or whatever, that's completely an outmoded concept now. It was arguably kind of suspect around this time, but because I mean, look at the actual presidential elections that happened. Kerry versus Bush, right? Kerry won handily. It didn't matter. They were like, oh, Bush didn't totally poop his pants and lick it up afterwards, so he won. What? Are you kidding me?
9/11. He deserves a second term.
Anyway, but that has nothing to do with what they do. But I think that the debate as sort of the crux to show the realness of the Mace Gilliam character, I think works here. I don't have I have a big problem with the battle of the bands as the plot device. Right. This is the battle of the bands of the political movie.
Yes.
JB knows what I'm talking
about. I mean, interestingly, this feels like the first movie we've watched where it actually turns the tide, right?
It works, yeah.
Yeah. The thing that really turns the tide in fucking The Candidate when they have the debate or whatever is that his father endorses him right after. It's not, he actually fucks up the debate. The thing that in Bulworth or whatever, right? He's just drunk at the fucking set of the debate, fucking up.
It's a spectacle, yeah.
So this is the first movie we've really done where a debate kind of really changes the energy, I guess, of the entire thing. And it is because I mean it's that same kind of
he weaves in his stand-up with it, so it seems very natural.
Yeah.
It's there's natural laugh lines and everything, and but it's built up to the fact that okay, that Sharon Stone's cousin dude is kind of just coasting on the fact that everybody knows who he is and don't have strong negative opinions about him. He doesn't really have anything there. Yeah, but since they've set that up the entire movie, it works.
Yeah, because he was how Al Gore was really, because remember Al Gore spent 8 years as the vice president. Nobody thought about Al Gore when he ran in 2000, and
I barely thought about him.
Same here.
Lockbox. we gotta put this.
Awesome. Love that for him.
I mean, I voted in that election. I didn't think about him.
Yeah, that was pre what was the movie he made?
I voted for Nader.
An Inconvenient Truth.
Inconvenient Truth. Yeah, that was pre-Inconvenient Truth. Al Gore was oh, you got cool after you stopped running for elected office. Great.
Why didn't you do that in 2000? Come on.
Thanks to Pantslove. Picking Mr. Censor Joe Lieberman as your vice president instead of literally anybody
speaking
else.
Of Joe Lieberman was in the opening credits along with Hillary Clinton, Al Sharpton.
And then they get to put him in the credits, and then it says something not really or something, right?
Which
is hilarious.
Not in this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is pretty cool too.
That's pretty good.
Question for you guys. What makes Chris Rock's character different from all the other lead characters, political candidates that we talked about this month? I feel it's because he didn't sell out.
Yeah, he never sells. That's what makes it a
Capra-esque
movie. Yeah.
Because everyone else at some point, has a sellout moment, or just is
or a Beto O'Rourke moment where they're oh, I gotta move to the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, in the case of Bulworth, obviously, he's fully sold out when we get to the beginning of the movie, and he kind of redeems himself through racism, I guess, but
through weird casual racism and the most terrible rapping committed to film.
Oh God!
But that's still not his Dark Night of the Soul is not really it's not really, I guess, appeased or fixed by what happens because he gets shot. So that doesn't really help us here. So yeah, this is the plucky underdog really taking speaking truth to power and taking it to the
take on the establishment.
When he's giving the speech at the gay club, right? And he's basically saying oh, you you folks should all have like fundamental human rights or no different from everyone else. And it's played for a laugh because everybody's like, in their like full on like, Pride Fest gear and like they start like or whatever. But it's like no, everything he said is true. 100% of it's no part of that is invalid. And
show
like
business
just
and whole business.
But just to have, not that part really, but like but to just to if we were to have a candidate that is not named Bernie Sanders, just say things that just unequivocally, and like it's always amazing when that happens, and like that's just, and it strikes me how funny that like wow that seems so jarring then, and it's still kind of jarring now because people just refuse to like put it down to those sorts of terms, and are. Again, populism is equated with nationalism. It's like nationalism and populism are not the same things at all. But if you're an elitist, it feels like it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I think the Bush administration was the perfect time to kind of make a movie like this and to make the point about, the inauthenticity, because not only was there the inauthenticity of somebody like Clinton or like Gore, who was just kind of a bland politician that, Clinton wasn't exactly a bland politician, but at that time, right, like you kind of had to fit yourself into a very specific mold. Rather than doing that, though, like you could just kind of jingoistically flag wave. And this movie hits that point really well with the Brian Lewis character being like, God bless America, nowhere else. Like you didn't have to have any kind of authentic relationship with voters in any capacity. And on top of that, you could just wrap yourself up in the American flag like fucking Bob Roberts on that poster.
Or like hug the American flag like Trump did.
But I think there's also the obvious fact that he's black and he can't do any of those things.
Yeah.
And I think that was again the reason why I like the movie is that when you're, and it's not even being black, I think when you're non-white, you either very much have to fit the mold, even going back to Obama. Obama like let his blackness out here, there, like a little squeeze. I'll give you a little bit. But the rules are different for him. And I think it's the same way with this character. I don't think you could have written this movie and have him fit any of the other big characters in the other movies that you watch, because there's no way that character would have been allowed to do that. In real life. Now you could argue that Chris Rock, when he takes off the suit, puts on the FUBU, and does that, totally takes it in the complete opposite direction. It obviously played for laughs, but also speaks to, him being authentic. He's going to be his most authentic self, which, keep it a buck, nobody who runs for president is
look at like Harold Ford Jr., right? It had to be some because everyone thought that dude he's gonna be the first black president.
Oh yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like he had like
nice,
big
light-skinned guy.
Yeah, exactly.
He looked the part of the respectable black man.
What did Biden say? Clean and articulate about Obama. Oof, Jesus.
Yeah.
That man is now president.
I have been called articulate many a time. He's so well spoken, so articulate. It's amazing. Yeah, it's a.
And it meshes well with the the 90s kind of extreme dog whistling about pants hanging down, rappers, and like
that Cosby stuff.
Puts Allen Iverson on the wall, like takes out Reagan,
right?
Puts up Mary J. Blige, instead.
Yeah,
it's at the time, again, being played for laughs, but at the same time, there was a message there.
And I think it works because of that too. Real quick from the comments, Stevie, actually taking Lieberman out of the Senate to where he has no power as VP may be low-key smart, assuming Gore didn't die in office. I don't agree with that, but I put that on because I think there's a hilarious moment at the very end where Bernie Mac is like, well, no one's going to try to come for you now because then that would be president, which I think is really, really funny. And like, also like potentially kind of true. And what was Dan Quayle if not if not insurance, an insurance policy like that, like let's just take the dimmest bulb possible and like you don't want that guy to be president, do you? Yeah, better make sure you protect him.
That dude was a heartbeat away.
The dude Sarah Palin, but not as smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dan. I thought the candidate was a roadmap Quayle.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love the fact that liberals have actually recently tried to revive Dan Quayle as like a resistance hero.
Sure. If you don't like Trump, you're on the club. Exactly. It doesn't matter. Neocons, great. Here's your MSNBC show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I just saw How Dan Quayle Saved Democracy. Yes, really, by CNN of all places.
Well, but it's also
spelling potato or whatever.
Like correcting a child who spelled it correctly and with an incorrect pronunciation.
Also, too, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Dan Quayle is the guy who coined the phrase "How true that is," which is a very, very interesting way to say "true that."
That ain't right.
That ain't right. That ain't right. That ain't right.
He's also the guy who said he didn't know Latin, so he couldn't go to Latin America.
Say democracy, okay.
He was great for comedy. That's all I'll say. I think I think a lot of these like lesser supporting characters work really well too. Like Tracy Jordan's Meat character. It's one of his first roles. I mean, like I live not just in Oakland, but I lived in like West Oakland. There were a couple meat guys, and it's like that. That's real. And
no. My studio in Baltimore, totally had a meat guy.
Whatever.
Speaking of Tracy Morgan,
pick it up cheap, sell it for some extra money.
It's like Prop Joe. Buy it for one, sell it for two.
Exactly.
And Tracy Morgan's most recent role is playing the ghost of Christmas Yet to Come in the Spirited movie with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds, and he's like,
we got a story about that. You want to feel this one?
He's like, oh, it's so great, but he's like menacing wearing the cloak, and he looks like every version of the ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. But then once he opens his mouth, he sounds like Tracy Morgan. He's like, I need a phrase. I need to sound like you just been Christmas
Yet to Come.
So that movie, JB, you want to feel this? We have a story about
this. You can go ahead.
So in the tour of forest, actually a couple hours after you saw us in Peekskill, we went to my friend Ryan Collison's place, who does ADR work. Him and his team won a Grammy for was it Grammy? No, Emmy. Sorry, for Narcos.
Oh, Emmy, okay.
And a few others. But he showed us something that he was working on that was in progress to show us like what the sound work, like what it looked like and how you could like change it and whatever. And it was that movie. So before that was out, so we got to see like there was a dancing scene. And he moved like the stomping up and down, and he moved it. It was really cool actually because he did. And he had a big like console, and I mean he just does this stuff all day for like all these kinds of stuff, and for big movies and stuff too. But it was real cool to kind of see it in action.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then Joe Cannon took a picture with the Emmy, which was hilarious.
Oh yeah, that was that picture.
But it was that movie, and he's like, yeah, it is. I can show you this. This isn't out yet. It's great.
But I like the Tracy Morgan bit in this a lot because it doesn't. I mean, that's another thing. It doesn't really like hammer you over the head. But at the end of it, it's pretty funny when they recycle the same bit from earlier, where he's like running for president. And he's like, president of what? And they're like, the United States. United States of what? America. Yeah. Which America? North America. I don't vote.
It's funny, but it's also like because that's a little too real.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny to me. It's funny because it is so real. Because exactly. Back in 2003, if anyone ever, well, obviously in that case, I probably would have said the same thing. Like, what America? Which America? Because it certainly wouldn't have been a reflection of any America I lived in. So very poignant.
I think that there's a lot of kind of weirdly poignant moments in this, which is funny because there's also like some bits that like even at the time I was like, all right, fine, but like it's so much of it does hit. I'm kind of surprised that people don't treat this movie as like more as being being a better film than it gets credit for, because it is actually, it swings a lot, like a lot of comedies do, and it doesn't always connect. And that's good point. But a lot of times it does. And like some people say like, oh, this is too like unserious and silly to be like a satire. I completely disagree. This is a great satire.
Yeah.
I laughed out loud in this movie. Like
actual laughed out loud instead of
no, like some of the other films that we've watched. This one I was laughing out loud.
Yeah.
I mean,
definitely didn't do that in Bullworth.
No.
The scene where he's the one like where he gets serious talking about, I can't quit because, but even in the background, there's the background singer. That's what's one of the things she says. Like the singer says in the background, and if you don't, and you could miss it, if I think she's three different like ad libs she throws out there. But you can hear it just enough, But here he's trying to have this heartfelt moment, and but also at the same time, it's so quiet that if you don't want to hear it, you don't have to. You can soak it in the moment, or you can hear, what she's saying in the background. But yeah,
and there's some goof ass moments too, like when they're at like the fundraiser and they start dancing to the Nelly song. And then suddenly everybody knows the dance and they're doing it. I mean, it's a freaking comedy, people. You know what I mean? It's a comedy. But like, the only part of it I don't like is the tag where it's the roof is on fire, and then the roof's on fire. It's like, come on, they would
see.
Really?
I
think I laughed at it at the time, but this time I was like,
I think that joke holds up. I do.
I think it holds up. I think,
but the only premise of the joke is that white people can't really boogie. You know what I mean? Like that joke.
Well, it's old people dancing dirty too. Yeah. That's also like that's also.
And I think it's that it's white peopling, and that's the joke. It's because at the end they're on the bus. They do the roof is on fire again, and it's not like it's just nothing but black people, but majority on the bus. But everybody gets it. Hey, but I also think it also speaks to class as well as race as well.
Totally. And in that fundraiser one, I can't forget this. They also have like the big dude who's like I don't know if he's a Teamster guy or what, who like is a very good dancer, which I always appreciate that in a good movie.
Oh yeah,
it's like where it's like just because you're big doesn't mean they can't dance.
Yeah,
I mean, like I love that. That's great.
Oh, like when they're on the stairs, and they're the man and the woman.
And he's like, and there's like the slide, and it was like, I was like, that's awesome. And then afterwards, they're like, oh, that was so embarrassing. That was so terrible. You can never do that. And I was like, we had such a great time. That's the earnestness.
Now, was that folk chisel my nizzle bit that was popular back in?
Yeah,
that was already. That was on minute 16 already at that point. Yeah, especially.
He was
that's how you know it's over.
He's almost like like a black Jesus of some kind. He slaps the black back into that one guy that's at the fucking fundraiser.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Like, I don't know that dancer, and he slaps him, and then he's like,
it's funny because that joke, that is one of the jokes you couldn't do today. I don't think you can do that joke anymore today. I think back then, it was
especially not Chris Rock.
But, yeah.
Well, maybe Chris Rock would get a free pass.
But look at like Bernie Mac.
Yeah, Will Smith in a role you can't believe.
Off the train, smacking a woman, he's getting off the train. Yeah.
Will Smith gets an anonymous cameo in a movie, not knowing it's Chris Rock directing it, and Chris Rock runs up, smacks him in the face, and he's like, "What? I slapped the black bag into you."
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. I don't think anybody. Well, because remember Chris Rock during was it Bigger and Blacker? No, not Bigger and Blacker, but not Bring the Pain, maybe.
I think it's
where his stand-up where he's like black people versus N-words. And to me, that joke is akin to that. And I'll tell you, that's one of the things that a lot of people thought it was funny. I didn't think it was funny. I didn't think that joke.
I mean, it's kind of crazy that he effectively satirizes that same concept. I mean, you should think that he satirizes that same concept with first, like, you know, the Lynn Whitfield character in this movie, and with, you know, just his dynamic with a lot of people, like, you know, I guess faked inauthenticity of you know, like black people who are trying to climb the ladder, like this cultivated, I mean, kind of like you said, like the well-spoken thing, right? Like you could tell there's a couple characters in this movie that are like, you know, trying to embody that, and to see him kind of slap that back into the guy is really funny. But like it's interesting that he kind of has that bit like as one of his most famous bits, to be honest. Like you know, considering the fact that he's very clearly you know, like literally hitting that concept in this movie. Like
this movie. There really is. It's a lot of physical strength.
Yeah, there is. You're right.
That's another thing. It's just like, oh yeah. Even like you can get away with it when you're like, oh, it's these brothers and that this is what their relationship is, right? But I think the rest of it, again, like as much I love the scene of Bernie Mac just getting out of the train, and people come up and talk to him, just whap, and someone else comes talk to him and just whap. Yeah. I love it, but no.
Yeah.
Well, also he walks up to Chris, when he walks up to Chris Rock, he just punches him in the face in front of all the security.
Yeah, exactly. As a greeting. Yeah. It's amazing.
So another thing, you picked up. Did you count how many people that played on The Wire were in this movie?
A lot, actually.
One of the cops at the beginning.
There were a lot. It was I noticed that, like in the scene toward the beginning of the movie, they show Landsman. The guy that I was like, I didn't know he was in this movie, and then it's like, I didn't realize he was in this. You know,
and it's all like small little parts. But it's all there. It's kind of awesome.
I mean, The Wire kind of delved deep into both like kind of local talent in Baltimore, but also like a lot of like bit actors. Like they did a really good job casting kind of bit actors that were in pretty much everything else with that show.
Yeah.
Like that show very purposely chose people that, I mean, besides like McNulty, who apparently is fucking Prince Philip and or whatever, Prince or King Charles, whatever, in the new season of The Crown. Like besides that actor, like everyone else is very I don't want to say haggard, but like very realistic looking, right? Like there's an authenticity to pretty much every character. Sometimes it's because it's actually like a drug dealer or like you know,
like Snoop from which I always love the fact that like Michael K. Williams spent so much time trying to like develop Snoop as an actress, and she was phenomenal in The Wire, but not in this movie. So we can move on.
Let's move on to the Letterboxd one-liners. How about that? We need some fake cheering to build some enthusiasm. Of course, Letterboxd is
folks. We love those one-liners.
We love it.
We need that
Letterboxd is a place for film lovers to talk with and to each other about the movies they love, the movies they didn't love, the movies that make them weirdly thirsty, the movies that overuse the Nelly song, frankly. Of course, all of this is not just for the Siskel's and Eberts of the world. It's a bottom-up democracy. Everyone gets to have their say. Best expressed working in Chat 5 in front of the Comedy Store brick wall. And, you have in the classic one-liner format, and these are the one-liners for Head of State. God. When he pulled into that gas station at the beginning, it only cost $1 per gallon. I really felt that. Facts.
I did that.
Facts.
I'm sure the Supernaut feels that.
Dude, like, don't get me started. That would.
And they're still complaining about gas prices and stuff. Like, it's cost so much money.
Why didn't this really happen?
Good question.
Because they picked the guy that fucking Chris Rock slapped instead.
Yeah.
Now that was a weird fanfic. Respect though. Like it's more than just that. It's more than just that, Kartoffee.
Well, I mean, but also you don't see the 4 years where presumably fucking Mace Gilliam is actually governing. Like he could go into it a month later and like his brother resigns and he gets Joe Biden in there and
no. Here's if this is fanfic. Here's the fanfic. He puts his brother on the Supreme Court. Yes.
Well, you know he would fucking vote to codify Roe.
Oh yeah. Oh
just
man.
for the hose.
The people can't decide. People are too busy getting shot in the ass. That
It's
is
such
the
a
best
good distillation of the gun control debate. Yeah,
it's like the best distillation of that ever, and it's a freaking joke by a fucking comedian. So good, love it. When it comes to creating so many enemies that we need billions of dollars to protect ourselves, how about God bless Haiti or God bless Africa? How about God bless Jamaica?
I felt
I love Jamaica. Have in Jamaica.
Exactly.
I felt the Pascal Robert soul like flowing through that fucking line.
Channeling him. That California suburb running scene is basically documentary footage from the future.
It already happened.
That's the thing. They get there. They get there in 2016. They're just running for a really long time.
But the movie came out in 2003. Yeah, 2003 is what the documentary for the future from the timeline of the movie. I think.
Yeah.
There was kind of a rush to support McCain or to really rebuke Obama being elected as the first black president, but it kind of also felt like
Bill Clinton was.
Well, it kind of felt embodied in like, oh no,
he wasn't. Trust me, he was not.
But it's kind of like I think there was a certain inevitability to Obama's rise once he won the nomination, where it's like, yeah, he's probably going to be president. But but there was some white flight. I mean, and I think there would have been more in 2012 if Mitt Romney wasn't like the least relatable.
Yeah, Mitt Romney is not going to get bombs over Baghdad playing while people rush out of the suburbs. People are like, for that guy, no. Maybe some lesser tier outcasts.
Some people just don't like us. Some people just don't like us.
It'd be like Train or something. It'd be something much more mellow,
There's a clip that's just like that always goes around that's so telling, where it's McCain talking to that one old woman that asks if Obama's like a secret Muslim, and he's like, no, he's a good person. We just have some disagreements.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, so yeah.
Dark Skin Magazine. He's half white. I was thinking about that when we talked about it earlier because that was one of my favorite ones. But good pull on that one. Maze Gilliam would have codified Roe into law on day one.
Yes,
he would have.
Like Obama promised.
He cared a lot about child care and child support and stuff. So
whose kid is this? Hey, Mike. I remember renting this and Call of Duty 4 from Blockbuster, and I watched this movie like 10 times during the week when it was checked out. But I did play Call of Duty as well. It's Andrew World, a young Andrew World chiming in.
Yeah. I relate to that so hard.
That one was just baffling. Maze Gilliam would have bombed way less people than Obama.
Unless the deep state got to him first. It does in the end. He's like, I know everything. I'm the government. And he's already...
Kuba's like tapping on his shoulder.
Those are the Letterboxd one-liners for Head of State. Please follow the show on Letterboxd. That's your host, Forrest, over there. I, of course, am Conan Neutron. I'm all over that business. J. Andrew, Meat Salesman World, is watching all the weirder stuff so you don't have to, or maybe so you can. I'm Christina's barracking the vote down there, and sometimes she does it. JB, I doubt you're on it, right? You're not on Letterboxd. You don't need to be. It's fine, but you could be.
All right, man.
It's useful. Meat Salesman, J. Andrew World, take it away with the plugs, please.
Wait, before Andy goes into the plugs, I wanted to play our Apocalypse theme video really fast because I really like it, and I can't.
It's all Apocalypse movies coming up. That's right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So
I'm good with that.
So before Andy does the plugs, I just really want to play this really fast. This is Conan did the music for this, and I came up with visuals for it, and it's really fucking cool, and I'm really excited for this, although I think it's going to be way too intense before every single episode, but I don't care.
Feel pretty good about that one.
Yeah. Although, you know, we're gonna go into it and like be ready to go on the show and then go through that intense fucking experience every time. Get on the show and be like, whoa, like we're here.
I think it's the first one I did that was all synth. So
word.
Totally
Andy, take him away with the plugs.
All right, you're watching us right now on YouTube, so please do the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and please watch the video to the end. That helps other movie fans find our content. Follow us on Twitter. We also have a Twitter community there. We do polls, and yeah, Twitter stuff. Follow everybody else on Twitter too.
That's quite the sales pitch.
Twitter stuff.
I mean,
You get,
what else
you
do
get-
you
you get
promote for
previews.
Twitter? It's going down.
You get previews to the intros that I do, like.
That's true.
It's just right up there.
If you like intros, we've. It's also on Instagram. You put it on there as reels too. So and Facebook, whatever it's reels, but it's Facebook, whatever.
So you don't
It's
have
the
to
same
join Twitter if you don't, if you're not already on there. I wouldn't recommend it.
We're not on Truth Social though. You can't retweet us, unfortunately.
No.
Sorry
Working
to
on
report.
Mastodon.
Yes.
But we do have a Patreon, and with the Patreon, that helps us out tremendously. Helps us be able to put out this content for you. And as a thank you, you have access to our after parties forever.
After party
forever. If we're gonna do one on Friday once I'm 100%.
Yeah. We ain't doing no after. My after party is gonna be getting back in the van and drive. Well, I'm in the van. I'm just gonna start driving.
Start that in show.
Can I at this point local weather report? It dropped to 13 degrees during the course of this show. By the way, so I'm actually I'm eager to leave this state behind.
Well, speaking of Conan, you got Protonic Reversal probably not happening this week, right?
No, you're wrong. It is happening this week.
It is happening this week. Excellent. So who's
Gerald V.
coming up,
Casale? Gerald
yes.
V. Casale of Devo. Talking about his new EP, and always a pleasure to have Jerry of Devo back. He's one of my very favorites.
And his new kid.
His new kid. I can't wait to talk to him about that because he is awesome, but he is not a young man, so that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, look
Good for him,
to
though.
that.
Good for him. Congratulations. Yeah, me too. It's gonna be my first one back, and the first one for December. He said confidently. I think. Yeah. Right. Yeah. First. Yeah.
And if you want access to this early, like Audrey apparently does, join Conan's
Hold on,
Patreon.
I'll be right back.
Sign up with Conan's Patreon, and you can get access to that episode early, which is fantastic.
$1 a month, Bernie Sanders
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
Just send me $1. You'll get the episode sooner. You'll have one over on everyone else.
Exactly. And we mentioned earlier Bandcamp Friday's coming up, which is this Friday, which is perfect for the holiday seasons. And while you're there, go to neutronfriends.bandcamp.com and get yourself Dangerous Nomenclature.
I can almost get to it. It's like right here. I got the shirts.
Don't worry
And
about it.
And we got we got tour shorts and shorts. No, tour shirts and stuff too. Great. Makes a great gift.
If you want to look as good as Christina does right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Oh yeah. Hold on. Let's see. Solo. Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah. That's the Dark Passenger shirt by the lovely Christina Oakes of Cosmopolitics. Thank you, Christina. Appreciate your service.
Yep. I was
Buy
like,
it.
why not?
Buy it. God damn it.
And your last show of the year is in Chicago on the 30th, right?
New Year's Eve.
Yes.
Oh, can I hang out with Ravana?
Yep. She came out to see us in at Subterranean. It was great. It's great meeting her in person.
So that sounds like a whole lot of fun.
Yes, it will be cold. I guarantee you.
Well, yeah, Chicago.
The riffs will be hot. The weather will be cold. Thank you.
That sounds like a promise. Christina, you got Twitch. You're back on
Yes.
Twitching.
Yeah, I'm streaming like every day. Oh,
Wait. Here we go. I got something for that. There you go.
there we go.
Hey, Twitching.
Anything interesting coming up, or you just winging? Have you
just-
covered Kanye on Tim? Pool?
This is some bit. You got anything interesting coming up, or are you just messing around? What are you doing?
Oh, where's this shooting the shit?
Yeah, I mean that's what she does. She talks about like whatever. I don't know. If you saw,
I talk about whatever. Yeah, that is. I streamed for like 8 hours yesterday.
Yeah,
I was there for the last bit of time.
Yes,
I'm exhausted just hearing that.
But you definitely want to go over to Christina's Patreon, help her out.
Bro,
I don't
help me reach my Twitch sub goal of 50. I got one more day to reach it.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, go
Okay.
over there, become Christina's sub.
I'll
Yes.
retruth it on Truth Social.
I'm a Dami mama.
I went into Christina's chat while she was
They call it
streaming yesterday.
retruthing.
Yesterday, I went in there on like hour 7 and started just feeding her videos to play.
Yeah.
Nice. It's like a filibuster.
What was the Kanye video? One of them.
Yeah,
No,
that
we
was
were
hilarious.
we were watching.
Jordan
I sent her the Jordan Klepper video to watch at like 3 in the morning. I don't know why I was up even. I was finishing up like getting this show ready, and then was like drinking a beer and was hanging out.
So
my
yeah,
chat's fun. It's all chill, all vibes.
It's a fun channel. Yeah. If you like
Yeah.
fun, go to that channel. Don't go to this channel. Go to that channel.
yeah, because I don't think we're actually streaming on Twitch, are we?
We have been, but I forgot to put us on. We have been generally.
Yeah, JB, you have a band called the Threadmaker.
Threadmaker, yes.
Threadmaker, yeah.
Wow.
Which I was listening to a little bit, but before we came on, it was nice stuff, kind of ambient, right? Kind of.
Yeah, kind of post rock.
Yeah.
Ambient at times. Yeah, it's a band filled with just randos like myself. I mean, it truly
Not
is.
entirely true, but yeah,
One
okay.
for all. It's whoever wants to be in it can be in it. So Threadmaker can have 3 people or 2 or 10.
Ooh, I will play tambourine.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to?
Yeah, if you could do
Feel
like
free.
whatever that was, like 16/9/4 beat that you're doing.
What?
Like the rhythms are like just kind of mind blowingly complicated, but I love it.
Thank you.
I don't know. Like I play a little hand percussion. I couldn't tell you like any time.
Andy, this is not your plugs.
No,
This
I'm
is
just saying.
JB's plugs.
Never mind. Sounds great though. It's good shit.
It looks good on you though. Yeah.
Do you have any dates coming up?
Well, the Threadmaker right now, we actually recorded, which is amazing.
It is amazing.
So that's being
They just kept
actually
adding names
mastered.
to the roster of people that wanted to get in the recording. 10-year recording session.
So that's being mastered, and that should be coming out. And we're just going to release on Bandcamp. We're not going to, but that'll be coming out probably in February.
Because you got
And
some live
then-
stuff now on Bandcamp.
And in one of my other bands, Coordinated Suicides, we have our vinyl that will be out
Forgot
in
about that.
March, unless there's another vinyl delay, which I wouldn't be shocked if there was. So yeah,
They played a great set at Caterwall this year. Coordinated Suicides. It was awesome.
And I am playing with that guy with the center left square.
The roving reporter over here. Yeah.
They take Charles Nelson Riley in the center square to block. Showing my age a little bit.
No, I get it. Yeah, I get it. I agree, and I make a similar joke all the time. I'm so people.
Yeah, I'm playing with Conan on the 30th as well.
Also, Action Chief.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Just the solos.
Actually,
Just solos.
Solos.
And just because I know our audience, you were in Tyranny is Tyranny, which got shouted out by Naomi Klein, which is
Oh
something-
yeah, it did.
Oh, yeah.
It did. Yeah.
I actually have the box of Action Chief CDs behind me, so that was really easy.
It's because we named our second record after her book, kind of after her book Rise of Disaster Capitalism. Because the theme of that band was about, the being communists and socialists and very, very extreme, very confusing, very extreme, which was the theme of this whole election season. Very confusing, very extreme. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Oh boy, that movie is 6 shades of terrible.
Yeah, man. It's a
That's a tough watch.
it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough watch. But anyway,
I like how I feel like when we had Jason on and now like fucking JB on, like I don't know, like the black panelists are like, that movie is just awful. I couldn't watch it. And then you have B on the other side, it's like, he was rapping. What?
Yeah. The white co-host who suggested it was with the caveat that I didn't think it was a very good movie at all, but I think it would make sense to cover it and it would be a good discussion. And to be fair, it was a good discussion.
I think it says a lot more too than like Distinguished Gentleman, which certainly is a better.
Well, he did it. It was 100 and no, it was an hour and 34 minutes, but he got Distinguished Gentleman in there.
Yeah, but it does, you know.
It is. I mean, it is funny. I mean, definitely some lines from that movie that I still say at least once a week to this day. Yeah.
Got it in.
I go down, you go down, Dick Dodge. It's still, come on.
Yeah. No,
it's off the tongue.
But
right,
yeah.
wrap it up. Come on,
there we go. Yeah, with the plugs, I'm going to be in New York in January. Tickets are on sale now. Ben Burgess, Sam Cedar, Jason Miles,
Daddy.
Emma Vigeland.
Me possibly filming it. I don't know yet.
Possibly Forrest will be there.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely going to be there, but I might be filming it.
Yeah, but yeah, there's going to be lots of cool people there. I'm not going to even.
M. Night Shyamalan?
Yeah. No, M. Trisong. Just it's French. I always butcher French names.
Yeah. I appreciate that you're giving it a try and bringing the show to a grinding halt while you do so.
Yes.
It's M. Toussaint, I think. Is
M. Toussaint? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, she's going to be there. Cuba.
Is the M for Madam?
Deep State Cuba is going to be there. So like, you know, it's going to be a fun group of people. And, you know, like I said, tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster. Just look up Give Them a Revolution. And stay tuned on Ben's channel for my interview with the gallery runner of our Michelson Gallery, where we talk about Leonard. Oh God, why am I just blanking on his name? Because I don't have it written down in front of me.
Leonard Bernstein?
No, he's a visual artist.
Should we just guess? Yeah, I mean, like, what are we doing here?
Anyways,
Da Vinci? No, that's Leonardo.
Anyways, it's a visual artist who did a lot of work on political stuff. Used to hang out with James Baldwin. Did a lot of stuff for labor, indigenous.
I feel
rights.
like this is like a Mad Lib that I didn't sign up for, but
That's okay. It doesn't matter. Y'all don't know his name, so we'll just skip it. But yeah, stay tuned for that and learn his name along with me.
Yeah, whatever that is, stay tuned for it.
And Andy going up into the interview, he's like, "So your name is Leonard?"
It's on the tip of my tongue.
But
wait, don't tell me.
Yeah, well, the worst part is Leonard Nimoy shows at the same gallery, so like it's really gonna get confusing.
Sounds like a recipe for hilarity.
Final thoughts?
Yeah, so I need to evacuate this room in a few minutes. My mom's setting up a show down here, so
I need to evacuate this state in a few minutes. So let's go. Yeah.
JB, let's hear some final thoughts. Anything we didn't get to, or that you wanted to add to the conversation?
Not to. I think this was a very slept on movie. I think that this movie has, like I said, there's a lot of subtleties in it. But I also appreciate it, like I said, because I think it was a movie that wasn't entirely written for the masses. And, you know, in a way, and I really don't know how to express it any different than that, but I do appreciate when movies can do that, when they can actually speak to a particular audience, you know. So that's all I got.
All right. Conan, playing with your hand over there.
He's playing with himself for sure.
There's a lot of throwing of hands in this movie, so I had to throw it in there, you know. This movie's very funny. This movie's very deeply entertaining. I'm glad we covered. I'm glad we ended election extravaganza on kind of an upbeat note. And I think this was a good discussion. And I think it's a lot better than a lot of people give credit for. And like I said, I'll watch it every time it's on cable. You know.
Would you vote for Mace Gilliam?
Hell yeah, man! I volunteer for the campaign.
Word.
That is right.
Yeah. Barack the vote down there. Final thoughts.
10 out of 10. That ain't right.
See, I was gonna say that ain't right, and then I was gonna press end. So now I gotta figure out something else to do.
That's the problem with going last, right? I mean,
And with the slapping gif.
Yeah, I should do that. Andy, the man with the 30-minute long bit. Let's hear some final thoughts.
I just wanted to say one thing we didn't really mention was Nick Searcy, who played the rival, who is actually in real life a right-wing piece of shit, but a wonderful actor. So, but like he's fantastic in this. I don't think he was actually acting. I'm just surprised he wasn't as racist as he is in real life. But
so
yeah, he did it really well.
Yeah. No, he's always anytime he's in something, you know it's going to be good. Well, you know he's going to be good.
Yeah.
You don't know whether it's going to be good or not. It's just he's going to be good.
That's why we have Andy to tell you whether it's going to be good or not. Yeah.
I was gonna say it feels like the show.
but I did just want to shout that out because I do absolutely love seeing him and stuff. Even though, like I said, he's like a Trump supporter and hates immigrants and not
right.
Yeah, exactly. But he's a hell of a good actor. So you know, since we didn't really talk too much about him, there's my little corner about him. We can now move on.
All right. Well, we are going to be back on Friday. We'll have an after party. We're going to be starting, as you probably would have guessed, unless you're listening to the audio version, because I'm probably going to take out the theme for the audio version because it's not going to make sense to have the theme go in the middle of the episode. But, we're going to be back on Friday talking about A Boy and His Dog. Weird movie. Kind of not sure how I feel about it, but, I'm glad the dog was chill. But look, I'll just say this. All right, come back on Friday, and that ain't right. In fact, it's wrong.